Can you guys hear me in the back? The people in the front row answered for you. Can you hear me in the back? Okay, all right, perfect. We are so pleased to have this moment with you. What you're going to hear tonight represents a reevaluation. This music has just crossed into its second century. So jazz music, the recorded aspect of this music has existed for 102 years. And so this creates a profound opportunity to reevaluate what we're communicating, why we're communicating, and who we are communicating with. So a big part of what's happening right now, you are also a huge part of building. This is a music that has existed for a very long time and has a very specific pedigree. And a lot of times, as soon as you say the word jazz, everyone in the room becomes a fucking scholar, right? And, you know, that's not what this music is about. You know, obviously, the tenets of this culture of music are pretty beautiful and really advanced. But this music's power exists in its ability to communicate. And so we want you to have a good time. We want everyone to know that you are free, you are safe. If you want to scream, if you want to throw shit, you're free. And you can have a good time. You know, we don't want this to have that air that as soon as you say jazz, everyone has to be on their best behavior. Everyone in this room is free. All right? All right. So we're going to continue with the music. The first composition that you heard is called Adjuah's Arrival. This is a brand new one. It's only 2 days old. I wrote it a couple days ago. And so we're going to continue now with some music from Ancestral Recall. This one is called I Own the Night. Everything is hooked up. I'm going to introduce you to the members of the ensemble now so you know who it is you're listening to. You guys are awfully quiet. And also, this family here that's sitting in the second row, the music is too loud for you. The entire time your fingers are in your ears. You may want to move to a better location for you if it's too loud. Now is a good opportunity to do so. It's good. It's good. I understand, there's different levels. People's perception is different. But it's a very interesting experience playing your heart out and someone right in front of you is going like this. That's weird. It feels weird. And it's, you may not have that perspective, but I'm letting you know my perspective. I thought I sounded pretty fucking good. Shit. Oh, yeah. Well, let me get to these introductions. I want to start with our pianist. This man hails from St. Louis, Missouri. I'm seeing if you're paying attention too now. It's difficult to talk about Lawrence's contribution to this generation of music. The skill sets that he has created, what's a part of his just everyday diet of music is just different from everyone else. Lawrence is a guy that can take any language in music, something that comes from an Indian raga or a Polish folk song, and he has the ability to find the synergy between those languages and creative improvised music or jazz music. This makes him an invaluable resource to this generation of music. This is a person that essentially, imagine meeting a person that when you met them, they spoke to you in Dutch, and then they spoke to you in Japanese, and then in Tigrinya, and then in Spanish, and you understood everything that they were saying. So it makes him like a Rosetta Stone for music. No, yeah. What I love most about what it is that he's developed, though, this is a guy that's gotten to a level of humanity that a lot of people don't get to. In order to do that, it means you have to consider why and how and what things determine the choices of these cultures of music. So you have to want to understand why a sitar player plays this note in this moment in a raga, which means you want to know more about him as a person or her as a person, their culture, these things. So the gift, as much as it is piano playing, for me, I think what makes him such a special character is how he treats people and how he perceives people. This affects his sounds. This is a person that when you meet him, doesn't matter what color, creed, your sexual preference, none of those things matter to this person. When he meets you, he's gonna look you in the eyes, he's probably gonna hug you, right? He's warm. And so I think that, so I feel like a gift like that makes sense in a human being like this. So as much as I like to announce him as a great pianist, it really is my honor to call him my friend. Mr. Lawrence Fields on the piano. All right. Next up on the bass, our brother from Poland. This is his second year with the band. The first gig that he ever did with us, he showed up, and I asked him what songs he knew, and he said, all of them. And listen, I appreciate that. When I first started to play and was cutting my teeth in New Orleans and New York, if you wanted to be in a band, you had to learn all of the music, not a couple songs. So, of course, we tested him, and he knew all of it. After 14 straight days of performances, he's sounding amazing, and it dawned on me that we had never spoke. We had never really had a conversation, like hello, goodbye, but not a real conversation. And so I thought it would be funny to tell everyone in the audience that I thought he was a fucking serial killer because maybe he couldn't understand. The next day, we get to the hotel, after the performance is over. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I get to the room maybe 30 minutes after the rest of the band. I get to my suite. I take a shower. I put on my robe. I get in bed. I'm fast asleep. And then I hear something in the room go. Can you hear me now? Okay, I'll just talk to you this way. So I'm investigating whatever this is, trying to figure out what it is. And I open up the closet, and he's in there naked with a knife. This as it's current. And of course, this startled me, and he goes, "Who's the serial killer now, motherfucker?" So when we did start to speak, I realized he's the funniest motherfucker I know. He's hilarious, hilarious. You know, I make fun of these guys and everything, but, you know, I want you to know them as people. This is a person that, you know, every night we play, and a lot of the girls are upset because he just got married. And, he just got married. Yeah, you can applaud that. No one fucking clapped. There must be a lot of married people in here tonight. Nobody clapped. I don't know, that was weird. But you know, his cool doesn't come off. You can't take off that cool. And we love him to death. Obviously, he's a stellar musician, a great young composer and band leader in his own right. Mr. Max Muha on the bass, y'all. On the djembe, congas, and bata, is a man that we call the, as in the only. No matter where you go on this planet, if you ask them about the traditional music from the continent, the new vanguard that respects and owns its traditions, but are also taking agency and finding new realities for the music, Weedy Brahma is the man they call king. So for this moment, you know, I always get a little stirred because it's really one of the singular honors of my musical careers to share the stage with this man. He represents that reevaluation more than anyone else. Weedy actually represents the roots of this music. You know, anyone that's talking about jazz, a lot of times from America, there was an intention to codify the music as being America's classical music. And when that was happening, it was important to make sure that the perspectives of European descent Americans were also put into the narrative. But from the New Orleanian perspective, when you talk about jazz, everyone says jazz is West African rhythms and European harmony. Now, I am a huge fan of European harmony. I am, right? But if you go to Senegal or Gambia or Togo, Benin, any of these countries, if you go into the barrio, the hood areas, the bush, these spaces, when you hear the traditional music, it sounds frighteningly similar to the harmonic values in blues music. So this music is the music of a migrant culture that was kidnapped and taken to America and forced into enslavement camps. And after emancipation, created a sound that really changed the face of this planet musically. So to us in this generation, it's important to be honest about where this music comes from, be honest about in our appraisal of what is actually happening in this moment and the import of an instrument like these being in this environment. So he represents the root of the tree. He is certainly a young king in this music, and we love him and honor him. Mr. Weedy Brahma on the percussion. Up next, we have Logan Richardson. This man is, well, yeah, he's the king of the alto saxophone for our generation. He is the heir apparent to the great Charlie Parker's legacy, so much so that he actually owns and lives in Charlie Parker's home, childhood home. He is born and raised in Kansas City. Anyone that knows this music and is aware of the alto saxophone knows that this man is the guy that built the template. In creative improvised music or jazz music, what the priority was for a 30-year period almost was to play the most profound and eloquent things that you could play. So the music became less about what we were trying to communicate and more about our prowess as musicians. Logan Richardson is the guy that for our generation in 2008, he released a record called Ethos, and he brought a different air back to the music. The music was sincere. The music was rooted in his actual experience. It wasn't him pantomiming the contributions of his predecessor. So what I mean to saying that is it's the intentions in a sound change the sound. If I tell everyone in the room a lie, if I tell you that I am a 7-foot tall woman with blue eyes and green hair, everyone can feel that that's bullshit, right? Just like if I tell you a story about my childhood or something intimate about myself, and I'm earnestly telling you these things, you can feel the energy in these words. Sound is the same. So when someone plays with a priority of showing you their greatness versus a priority of communicating their humanity to you, those are going to have different sounds because they vibrate differently. Logan is the guy for us that we feel is responsible for that in this time, and it's an honor to have them in this band as well. Mr. Logan Richardson, y'all. Last but never least is my little brother. You've seen him before? Yeah, I know you've seen him before. You're going to listen to this, though. Because not everyone has seen him, and your perspective is not the only one in the room. So this young man, I met when he was 14 years old. He was about this tall at the time. Now he's way up here somewhere. He was already playing at the Grammys. Did you see him play there? No. Okay, so he's already playing at the Grammys. He's 14 years old. I came in that year, one of my records had been nominated. It's 2006. I went down to play with the baby band, these young kids. Corey beat the hell out of everybody for about 5 hours. After this gig was over, I'm leaving, they're carting me off to some press event, and Corey kicks open my dresser door, and he says, "Where you think you going?" I said, "Listen, I gotta go, I got interviews, all this stuff." He said, "Look, Mr. Scott, let me pull your coat on something." He's speaking all this bebop. And he says, "Look, I'm ready to be in the band. You need to go on ahead and hire me." And so I told him, I said, "Listen, you know, you're quite young, you're 14. I started touring when I was 13, 14. So I know exactly why you should not have a 13 or 14-year-old on the road." Right? Like everyone from this perspective seems like a nice person, but some of you motherfuckers are very weird, probably. And we don't, you know, if I leave a 13-year-old out there with you, who knows what the fuck you might tell him, you know? Somebody's trying to take him to the red light district. It's not okay, seriously, you know? So I told him, I said, "Listen, you gotta wait until you're at least 19 years old to be in this band. But from this point until that point, I need you to give me 7 to 8 hours a day of practice every day for the next 5 years, and then maybe you'll be ready to walk with us." And so what I loved about that moment is he didn't back up from that work. When I told him that, that didn't affect him at all. And so as I'm leaving, I'm thinking I'm getting away because he's a little nuts. And he calls me back and he says, "Mr. Scott," I said, "Yes, I hate being called that, but yes." He says, "Give me your phone number." So I gave him my number, worst decision of my adult life. He prank called me every day for 5 years as my grandmother. And he would threaten me, say all kinds of wild stuff. I want him to do it right now so you can hear what I heard every fucking day for 5 years.
"Mr. Scott, baby, how you doing? I don't know why I called you that. Christy, call me back, baby. I'm your grandmother. Love you, bye."
Every day. And it's hard to take yourself seriously when someone calls you with that. It provides a considerable amount of levity to your day. I make fun of him. I tell all these stories. But he is the leading exponent on his instrument for this generation of drummers. He leads a band called Butcher Brown, which just played here recently. All right? You can clap it. I appreciate the claps. Who went to the concert? Anyone go to the concert? Okay, all right. So tell your friends, because this is the baddest young band in America. Now, he leads this band. They've put out maybe 8 records in 4 or 5 years. The output is high. They're constantly working. He's an incredible band leader. But when I think about how he's grown as a human being, the thing about Corey that makes him so special is when he plays behind you, you can feel that he loves you. It's a different energy in his playing. And so I'm going to take the time to honor him in this moment because I think he's one of the baddest that we have alive right now. Mr. Corey Fonville on the drums. All right, we're getting the sense that this may be more of a jazz audience, so we're going to play some jazz. Feels like y'all want to hear that a little bit. You guys know who Herbie Hancock is? Y'all know what Eye of the Hurricane is? You guys know that one? Do you guys know it? Okay, not everybody knows it. You're going to learn it. This one is called Songs She Never Heard. song was born a couple of days before I became chief. It was written for my grandfather. My granddad is a guy named Donald Harrison Sr., or Big Chief Donald Harrison Sr. He's the only man to be a chief in the 4 clans, tribes of black Indians in America. My uncle is chief, and now I'm chief. 2 days before my life changed, I started to have this memory, and I had no recollection of it. I had to ask my mother about it, and everything started to come back. There was something that I observed my grandfather do when I was a child that was very strange, but it taught me some very important lessons. When I was a kid, my granddad would come into my home, the homes of his daughters and sons, and every few weeks he would take all of the food out of the house. So if it was a steak, it had to go. If it was a Tic Tac gum, it had to go. If it was edible, it had to go. Now, as a young person watching this, I don't know that that's weird. And so, you know, you don't know what's normative or not yet. And so, you know, it takes me almost 8 years to muster up the courage to ask the chief what it was that he was doing. When I asked him, he told me that I had to now do it. So he gave me this big, massive canvas bag and told me to get the things, food, from my mother's home, my Aunt Teresa's home, my Uncle Donald's home, my Aunt Michelle's home, and to walk and to meet him on the corner of Desire and Galvez, which is right in the heart of the 9th Ward. This is the area that was affected the most by Hurricane Katrina. It's the lowest lying area. This is my neighborhood. As I walk up to this corner, what I saw in that moment completely changed my life. I got there with the bag. The people in my community, families, elderly people, all these people left their homes and lined up. And he had to go into this bag and ration this food out to the entire neighborhood. First it was elderly people, people in their 70s and 80s, and no one cared if they ate, no one cared if they bathed, no one cared if they lived or died, no one cared. After these elderly people, then families, a husband, a wife. A husband, this man might have 2 jobs. The wife has a job. They have 3 small children, and they work constantly in America and still don't have enough money to feed their children. A lot of times we don't talk about how expensive it is to be poor from the perspective of a poor person. After giving all of this food away, I started to walk back home, and my grandfather called me and told me we had to go into the next neighborhood. And it took an hour, and we did it again. Picked up food, gave it away in the 8th Ward. Then we went to the 7th Ward, the 6th Ward, 5th, 4th, 3rd, all the way to the 17th Ward in New Orleans. He walked this entire city giving this food away. I understood in that moment why they called him chief. When I got home that night, I was upset because I'm 8 years old, I'm a child, I'm mad I had to carry the bag. So I'm upset. So I lash out. I can see in his eyes that he sees that I did not get the lesson. So he says 2 things to me. The first thing that he says is that you see someone enduring or going through something as difficult as hunger, and you have the ability to do something to feed them, feed them. He says if you see someone is being mistreated because they're born in a different land, protect them. If you see someone is being mistreated because they have a different sexual preference than you do, protect them. Now, what's odd to me about that, when I'm appraising it years later, here was a man that was a tribal chieftain that was talking and speaking from a humanist point of view. You would think this person says only protect ours, only look out for ours, only feed ours. But what he would say is if tribe is nothing if it stops us from seeing other people. Tribe is nothing if it creates a deficit of vision. He said you do not build a country, you do not build a nation, a world, a state, province, city, municipality. You don't build with a sense of hate and what is ours and what is theirs. So you build with a sense of welcome, and that will grow to love. This last song that we play for you is about not just this man's life, but these ideas in this time period. I know a lot of times I speak, sometimes it's long, people get frustrated with that, and I understand. But you know this, I understand, I do understand. But there is never, it's always an appropriate time to speak about people loving each other. So when I'm speaking about what builds this song, place someday in this world. A space where I can walk outside and not feel things that I feel, looking like I feel, or looking like I look. And I know some other people in this audience think about that every day. Some people, that's a daily trauma for them. So the point is, two ideas that we want you to move forward with. The first one is not to believe everything you think. And the second one, and this sometimes is harder for people because of their proximity to other people. The second one is to not believe the singular narrative, the single stories that you are told about entire groups of people. When someone says, oh, that black person, or oh, this gay person, or oh, this Muslim person, they have reduced an entire group of people into one story when the one person they are talking about is thousands of stories. Every person in this building is hundreds, thousands, some of y'all maybe hundreds of thousands of stories. You know? And so the point is, when we cross this plane, we can take a moment to take this opportunity in front of us, this opportunity to see what the world looks like, and we stop carving each other up and placing value distinctions on things that people have no choices about. The idea is to look across the aisle from someone, sir, if I meet you on the street and I see you, most people would say that you and I would disagree just because of how we look. If we sit and talk for 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 2 hours, the more we talk, the more we will find the synergy and the connectedness between our stories. So the point is to acknowledge each other as human and to know that when you're speaking to someone, you are always speaking into a mirror. The energy you speak with is important. If I tell you right now we're saying something and you and I are talking about something and we start to disagree, and I start to raise my voice at you when we disagree, even if you agree with me, now your ego feels the need to defend itself. This creates an energy, a barrier between us. Now everything is a push and pull and a power dynamic. This is unnecessary. We've seen what it looks like when you build a world with hate. I'm through with that, and I hope everyone else in the room is through with that as well.
Yeah.
The last song we're going to play for you tonight, it comes from the most sacred space, the most sacred time, the most sacred rhythm in my culture, in my community. It comes from a moment where the people gather around an all fire they love. It's the moment where we play our traditional rhythm for the smallest ones among us. It's when 2- and 3-year-old babies finally get to see their chieftain in their ceremonial regalia and triumph. It's a beautiful moment. We're going to share this with you. We share it with the intention of spreading healing energy, love and light energy, so that when we walk out of here, we can walk out of here hand in hand and stop believing everything that we think in singular narratives about it. Thank you. All right. All right, y'all. Thank you, Bimhuis. If y'all give it up for Mr. Lawrence Fields on the piano. The Logan Richardson on the alto saxophone. Max Muha on the bass, y'all. Corey Fonville on the drums, everybody. And the only Weedy Brim on percussion, y'all. We, thank you. All right. We had a really amazing time with you guys. I know I talked a lot, but I hope, if you didn't enjoy the talking, I hope you like the music. But before we leave, we're going to come out and sign CDs. We have the new record and all that stuff, and we'd love to meet as many of you as possible. But before we leave, we just hope you consider what it is that we tried to intimate about our opportunity to treat each other better, right? I think it's time. Thank y'all.